Hi again, back to Miss Wesley here. We are ready to go for skill 7, which talks about copying segments and angles to create congruent figures. So this video is kind of a hodgepodge. There's really 3 different things we're going to end up doing here, but it's all behind the idea of you're copying something. And we're going to start with copying a segment. So it says given AB, which is right here, construct CD such that AB is, and we know this symbol means, congruent to CD. So I want to make them be the exact same length. So we got your steps over here for you because there's a lot of them. Not a lot of them, but a lot of words, so we wrote them down for you ahead of time. It says draw a line longer than AB on which AB will be copied. So I'm just going to go ahead with my compass. Doesn't matter where, if it's up here, down here, over here, whatever you want. And I'm going to go ahead and draw a line that I know is definitely longer than AB. All right. And it says label one of the endpoints C. Well, if A comes first, we're going to talk about this more throughout the year, that means it's got to match up with C. Well, A is over here, so I'm going to put C over here. And now I just have to figure out, well, where's D going to fall over here about, so it's the same exact length, and no, you cannot just measure it using the side of your compass like that. So we're going to measure it by putting our compass on A and opening up our radius until it lines up with B. And again, just like I talked about in, I think it was the equilateral triangle video, you want to do a little baby arc here to prove to the grader, your teacher, whoever it is that you actually did measure that. And now it says step 3, place the center of your compass on the new line at C. Swing that same arc. Again, we're not going to change our radius. And where that arc intersected your original line is your other endpoint, and that's D. So AB is now congruent to CD. Okay? Not a tricky process, but again, anything that you might have missed or want to hear again, feel free to pause, rewind, go back. Example 2. Triangle DEF is shown below. Using a compass and a straight edge on the line below, construct and label. So that's important. A lot of times students will just construct it and they're not going to label it, and you would lose points there. Such that ABC, again, is congruent to triangle DEF. So I essentially want to make a copy of this triangle down here on this line. And notice that this line has 2 arrows on it. It doesn't tell me where A would go. So like we did with this here, I'm going to pick a point and call it A. Now, obviously don't put A over here because then you're not going to have room for your triangle. Since A and D have to match up, I'm going to put A over here to the left. All right, so that's point A. So we just talked about up here how you can copy the length of segments. Well, I'm essentially going to do that same exact thing. So I'm going to put my compass here on D. I'm going to open my radius up so I can measure the length of DF. So I can figure out how far away from A down below does my next point have to be. I'm going to swing a little arc here, again, to prove to the grader that I in fact measure that. And since D corresponds with A, I'm going to move my compass down here to A. Move this up for you. I'm going to swing a little arc here. All right. And this point that I just found, A was the first letter, just like D was. If I'm talking about F, F is the last letter over here, so that means this is actually going to be point C. All right, careful there, you don't want to call it point B. So I'm just going to do for myself so I know, I already measured that side right there. So I'm going to cross it off so I don't measure it again. Well, I didn't measure DE yet, so I'm going to go back, put my compass on D, open it up, which is pretty close already, but not exactly. And now I'm going to tighten my compass so it lines up with E. And again, I'm going to do a little baby arc over here to show that I actually measured it. And just like I did before, I'm going to take this compass with the same radius that I just set, and I'm going to move it down here to A, because A and D corresponded. And I'm going to swing an arc to mimic that other arc. All right. Well, you might be saying, well, Miss Wesley, how am I going to know where on this arc that letter B's got to go? And you're right, we don't know where it's going to go yet, but we need that arc to figure it out. So I'm going to cross this off because we just measured DE and we swung our arc. So that means the last side we have left to measure is F to E. Again, if I'm going too fast for you here, you're missing anything, please pause the video, stop, go back, watch it at your own pace. That's what this is all about. So, lined up with, what letter am I at? E. I'm going to swing my baby arc to prove that I measured it. All right. Now, notice, I started my compass here at F, so it would not make sense for me to go ahead and put my compass over here at A, because A and F do not correspond. F, we said, corresponds with C. So I'm going to move my compass over here to C. I'm going to swing that arc with the same radius that I had set. And look at that. Our arcs are intersecting, so where they intersected is going to be that third point, which in this case we're missing the letter B. Last step, connect them. And you should, in fact, as long as your compass stayed the same radius that you needed it to be each step along the way, triangle ABC that's congruent to DEF. Right. And we did that again by measuring each of the sides. And it wouldn't matter what side you measured first. You could have done this in any order that you wanted to, but I like the idea of crossing them out to know to myself that, okay, I did that side, these are the ones that I have left. Right. So we've just gone over copying a segment, and then we use that information to then copy a triangle. And you could do the same thing for a rectangle, quadrilateral, whatever else you might have. Right. So once you got that down, we're going to go to the next page, and that's on copying an angle. So that's a little bit of a different process, all right? So looking at example 3 here, it says copy the following angles. And we have a lot of steps here, all right? 6 steps. So it says draw ray AB onto which the angle will be copied. So all that means is that you want to draw a line off to the side here where you're going to copy your angle. All right. And I'm going to make sure I put a dot here to represent this vertex of my angle, that those would match up. All right. Step 2 says put the center on the vertex of the given angle, so that would be here, and swing an arc of any radius across the angle. So what that means is I'm going to set my compass on the center point, and I'm going to pick whatever radius I want, but you have to make sure that radius would pass through both sides of your angle here. So for instance, if you set your radius way out here and I was to swing it down, it's not going to cross those lines. All right, so make sure I tend to go a little bit about the middle, maybe a little bit more than halfway. So I have something that looks like that. All right, so whatever radius you want, as long as it crosses both sides, that's a key thing. So that was step 2. Step 3, put the center on vertex of your new angle and swing that same arc. So I'm going to put that center now on my new point over here, and I'm going to swing that same arc I just did. So I have something that looks like that. All right. So I know this is going to be one end ray of my angle, and I need my other ray to go somewhere like this. But like before, I don't know where exactly to put that line. So here's the next step, and this one you want to listen carefully to. Step 4, go back to the given angle that you started with to measure the width by placing the center on Q and a radius to S. So these letters are coming from, I think we should have had letters here. This would be R, and nope, no R, my fault. This would be Q, it said, and this would be S. So we need to measure how wide the angle is. That's essentially our goal. So I'm going to put my compass over here on Q, or whatever point you want to call it, doesn't matter. And I'm going to adjust my compass so I get the width of the angle. So meaning I'm going to find the point where that arc and my line intersected. I'm going to swing a little baby arc. And now you can kind of see what I mean here. So I had my compass down here, I opened the radius to be that length, and I swung a little arc going this way. I'm going to now move my compass over to this point over here that would correspond with Q or whatever point, even if you didn't label it. I'm going to swing that same arc. And by doing so, this now allows me to connect back. And I just copied that angle. All right. So yes, this one's definitely a little bit different, a little bit more in depth with the terms of steps and how precise you have to be. So that's why I have a bunch of examples on here. All right, so I'm going to walk through the next example just like I did the one up above so you can hopefully get the hang of it. But again, pause, rewind, stop, go back if you missed anything. So let's see, I don't have a ton of space here, but we'll make it work. So step 1 is to draw a line where you're going to place your new angle. So something like this would be good. Here's my vertex over here on the left. I'm going to make this point be my vertex over here for my new angle. All right, so that's step 1. Draw a line where you're going to place your new angle. Step 2 is using your given angle. You have to swing any arc you want as long as it crosses both sides. All right, so set your radius to be whatever you want as long as it crosses both sides. I'm going to move my compass over to this other new vertex that I have and swing that same arc. Now, just a little point to think about here. If I stopped that arc about here, that's not going to work because I know my line's got to go over this way somewhere. All right, so that's why I purposely had my arc go a little bit further to the left. I honestly probably should have gone a little bit further, but I think I'll be okay. If not, I'm just going to have to go back and repeat that step. All right, next step here. And it actually doesn't matter whether, no, it does. Apologize. I need to measure from this point down here, which in the steps are called Q, to this point over here called S. And you can always reference these pictures over here. They have the same letters that I'm talking about. So I'm going to put my compass on Q. I'm going to open the radius up until it lands on S because I need to measure how wide that angle is. Swing a little baby arc. I'm going to pick my compass up, move it to this point over here. Swing my arc so it crosses the other arc. All right. Now again, if I would have stopped my red mark here, it wouldn't have helped me because then I'd have these two lines that aren't going to cross. But since they did cross, I can go ahead and draw this one in. All right. There you go. So I just did 2 of those there. I'll get you started on this one, and then I'll tell you to pause it so you can go ahead and try it on your own. If you don't want to pause it, you can listen to me do the 3rd one, but I think it's a good idea at this point to maybe try it, see how you did. If you get stuck, come back and listen to me. So I'm going to copy this angle. So I'm going to draw my line where I'm going to put my new angle. Here's my vertex to match this vertex. All right. From this point, if you want to give it a try, pause it right now. If not, I'm going to go ahead and go through your steps with you. So after that, step 2 says you need to swing an arc, any size arc that you want, as long as it crosses both sides. And I probably sound like a broken record at this point. Here it comes over here. I'm going to swing that same arc without changing my radius. Next step, you have to measure from one edge of your angle to the other edge of your angle to figure out how wide this angle is without measuring it using a protractor. Ooh, my radius was pretty close. I'm going to line it up, swing a little baby arc. I'm going to go over here to my other angle, put it where my original line and my arc intersected, swing that arc, and where they cross, I'm going to go ahead and draw in my angle. Just notice I didn't put arrows on all these. All right, so these here can be a little tricky. That's why we gave you so many examples. Feel free, if you didn't use colored pencils or anything, go grab some, or different colored markers. Markers would be a little bit too big. Pens, pencils, whatever you got. But all your steps are listed out here to the left, but we're going to use this idea of copying angles. Where'd my other page go? Copying shapes like we did here throughout the rest of this unit. All right, so try those practice problems. I know this was a long video, and then go ahead and take that CFU when you are ready.